a wave just took over my body. I felt I was sweating. I started crying, and I told him that I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore.
This is not good. I didn't want to come back 6 days later and make yet another update on Deshaun Watson because I felt like the previous video I made pretty much got us up to speed and we would have been good for at least another month or until we found out from the NFL what is going to happen to Deshaun Watson. But unfortunately, completely out of left field, we got some really bad news in regards to the Deshaun Watson situation. So before we get to the content, usually any video I make pertaining to Deshaun Watson gets demonetized so YouTube doesn't push it out to a larger audience. You can just counteract that by leaving a like on this video. And of course, if you want additional bonus content like my next Lawrence Phillips murder documentary, make sure you check us out on patreon.com/microphone. Now that we get all that out of the way, break! Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Guys, the last time we covered the Deshaun Watson situation was 6 days ago, and for the most part, I thought we would be good for until at least the end of the month, or maybe if it was before then, if Roger Goodell came out and told us what Deshaun Watson's punishment was going to be, that would have concluded this entire saga. But ultimately, that's not what ended up happening. In a crazy twist of fate, we have a very unfortunate update in regards to the Deshaun Watson situation that kind of ties with what we brought to you guys last time. Man, the NFL has so many cases pending that I have no idea how they're gonna dig themselves out of this PR nightmare, because on top of the Deshaun Watson situation, of course, they have what's going on with Dan Snyder and the Washington Commanders, in addition to what's going on with John Gruden, who we made a video on recently, which essentially just tells you that this man is out for blood and revenge against the NFL. And in the meantime, the NFL is tasked with disciplining a player that was supposed to be potentially the face of the NFL for future seasons to come, but unfortunately, as a result of these recent incidents, it's clear that Deshaun Watson's reputation definitely took a hit. Now, as a result of this, there's so many theories in regards to what is going to happen to Watson. I mean, this man could easily get suspended for 4 games this year, which would be the equivalent of what Tom Brady got for the Deflategate scandal, 6 games this year, which is the equivalent to what Ezekiel Elliott shoving a security guard at EDC 2019, or he could potentially be suspended for an entire season, which wouldn't necessarily be what Trevor Bauer is going through in baseball currently, but Josina Anderson actually thinks that this is a good opportunity for Deshaun Watson to ultimately be made an example out of, which I don't want to say this would be hysterical because clearly it's unfortunate for Watson, especially if Deshaun Watson is innocent. It'd be really unfortunate if he had to be made an example out of and he would not be able to play for the Cleveland Browns this year. But at the same time, it would be absolutely hysterical in the sense that the Cleveland Browns gave up
so much draft capital for this guy.
An unprecedented amount of draft picks, in addition to one of the craziest contracts we've ever seen in NFL history. A 5-year, $230 million contract, fully guaranteed. As a matter of fact, can we just imagine what's going to happen next with the Cleveland Browns if Deshaun Watson gets suspended for an entire season? Who's going to be their backup QB? Is it going to be another Jacoby Brissett year? Because Jacoby Brissett had a season like this where the presumed starter, Andrew Luck, decided to retire unexpectedly before the season, and then he got a full season as the starter of the Indianapolis Colts. Obviously, he wasn't on the roster at the time they traded for him, but you get what I'm saying. Or are they going to try to push Baker Mayfield to try to play for one more season to at least boost his value so they could trade him to another team? Well, that's something we're going to have to keep an eye on, because what's going on now with Deshaun Watson, other than him going to the Bahamas with his teammates and Nick Chubb calling him a great leader, is the fact that if you remember in our last video, there was this one segment on HBO called Real Sports with Brian Gumbel. In this segment on HBO, Ashley Solis and Kyla Hayes, 2 individuals that were victims of Deshaun Watson, opened up on the entire situation. Now, it's important to note that prior to the last video we made, Deshaun Watson openly admitted the fact that Ashley Solis cried at the end of their massages together. As a matter of fact, the testimony says that Solis ended up crying after the encounter. Watson left Solis's home and followed up in a text message afterward apologizing for the incident. The exact words being, "Sorry about you feeling uncomfortable. Never were my intentions. Let me know if you want to work in the future. My apologies." When Deshaun Watson was asked by Tony Busby, the lawyer of the 22 masseuses, well, at least before it was 22, yeah, that's why we're making this video, but you know why you sent that text apology afterward? Watson said yes because she was teary-eyed, and I was trying to figure out what was going on. I said we can work in the future, just let me know, and then I sent my apologies for whatever reason she was teary-eyed for. Now, Ashley Solis since then came out and said that as she was working, he deliberately grabbed himself and put his eggplant on my hand, and I pulled my hand away instantly and I started crying. And I told him that I'm done and I don't want to do this anymore. Kyla Hayes said that he wanted me to make a V motion in his pelvic area. So go across his stomach to his thighs, back to his stomach, and I just kept massaging and did what he asked until his Johnson kept touching me repeatedly as I did it. He was moving his Jimmy back and forth as my hands moved as well. Ashley Solis would also say that Deshaun Watson's 5-year, $230 million contract was pretty much a gigantic screw you, which you have to admit, in a sense, is kind of interesting how Deshaun Watson was able to take a full season off of football, get traded to a better situation, and get paid the craziest contract a quarterback has ever gotten paid in NFL history. Now, you might be saying, Mike,
why are you rehashing your previous video? We know all this already.
Well, one individual in particular saw this Brian Gumbel piece on HBO, and now Deshaun Watson is facing a 23rd active civil lawsuit over alleged inappropriate conduct. No, I'm not kidding. There's a 23rd lawsuit now that's active against Deshaun Watson. This isn't just coming from me. This is being reported by Adam Schefter, ESPN of all people is reporting this, and of course Ari Meirov. Let me bring it to you guys via Ari Meirov and ESPN. Another civil lawsuit has been filed against Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson, bringing the number up to 23. Attorney Tony Busby said in a statement, the petition states the new plaintiff changed her mind after watching a segment about the lawsuits last week on HBO's Real Sports. So exactly, this victim saw what happened with the other victims on Real Sports and decided to come forward. This is about to get so freaking messy, and the wild card of this entire situation is how inconsistent Roger Goodell has been with punishments in the past. It's just like, you don't know what's going to happen at this point. We do have word from Deshaun Watson's attorney, Rusty Hardin, who said Deshaun Watson vehemently denies the allegations, just as he has since she first discussed them with members of our firm in March of last year. She repeated the allegations on social media in August, and he denied them then. The only thing new about her contentions is the embellishment, making them more extreme than prior versions. Deshaun's denial remains the same. The two highly respected lawyers from our firm, Leticia Quinones and Rachel Lewis, also vehemently denied there was any coercion or intimidation involved in the very cordial meeting at Vic and Anthony's. Mr. Busby and the plaintiff are not even right about where the meeting was, much less what was said. They met her to see if she was one of Mr. Busby's then still anonymous plaintiffs. At that time, Mr. Busby refused to identify his clients. The suggestion that either of these two accomplished lawyers would have said, "Us black women must stick together," is absurd. The interview was so congenial, she joined the lawyers for dinner afterwards. We are aware that more than a year ago, she had other lawyers representing her, and they ultimately terminated the representation. This plaintiff has long had a vendetta against Deshaun since she jealously and angrily published Deshaun's personal data on social media in November of 2020. In filing her lawsuit now, she was obviously not influenced by recent developments. We are not surprised Mr. Busby was willing to say just about anything to get more publicity. He knows the NFL continues to investigate these cases, and this is a transparent attempt to further punish the man he sees as a potential payday. Right or wrong, you can't deny the fact that Tony Busby is getting a significant amount of publicity from this situation, but I really wonder how this is going to change things, because this is going on. This 23rd civil lawsuit is coming along right as Roger Goodell and the NFL are conducting an investigation to determine how long Deshaun Watson's punishment should be. I'm still not changing my stance. I think we're going going to see something within the span of 6 to 8 games. I do not agree with Josina Anderson. I feel like she was being a little bit too aggressive with her own personal prediction. And in regards to the nature of what happened with Deshaun Watson, my stance is still the same. I love watching the man play football. I hope he is not a horrible human being. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about this situation, man. It just keeps getting crazier and crazier. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.